People sometimes ask me how I came to understand holonomics, but I think that the answer may lie in my background, because when I first graduated from high school, I was playing rock and roll with my brother and playing music, but I also was interested in math and science, and so I applied and was accepted into the engineering honors program at the University of Texas, where they take 30 students out of the 1,800 that enter the engineering school each year, and you get really good professors and so on. After 3 years of aerospace engineering, I switched my mind and went into molecular biology and studied self-assembly of viruses and took laboratory methods courses, because I had all the basic prerequisite courses that you take your first and second year in college out of the way. So I was allowed to take graduate courses in molecular biology and studied how viruses and capsid proteins and so on self-assemble. And then I was accepted to osteopathic medical school. So when I became a professor and was responsible for looking at how manipulation was taught, up to then it had been taught largely by what's called a surgical and anatomical model. But it wasn't based on physics and math and engineering principles, it was based on anatomy. And so what I found was that I brought terms like vectors into the play, because of course vectors have direction and magnitude, and they were useful concepts to describe how the body was affected by force. At the same time, Dr. Core's papers on somatic dysfunction and the spinal cord physiology of it had inspired me to write a paper called Counterstrain, a dialogue with somatic dysfunction, about Larry Jones's technique, Counterstrain, because it perfectly illustrated Core's theory of somatic dysfunction, of how the muscle spindle and the segment dysfunction then spilled into the segmental autonomics and caused what we call dysfunction and disease. Dr. Core had just published a series of seminal articles called "The Spinal Cord as Organizer of Disease Processes." So my function as a professor to bring this scientific information about spinal cord physiology into the curriculum was dovetailed with these curriculum changes in how medicine was taught. So I found myself in a unique position as an osteopathic physician who'd done family practice to look at how medicine is taught and what is taught, and how doctors are taught to approach the patient and understand medicine in the context of this early departure from health and a scientific explanation of somatic dysfunction and reversible medical physiology.